Generic greetings and welcome back once again to Airships Conquer the Skies. Today's beverage is a nice chilled glass of Diet Cola with a hint of lime. So in a previous video of Airships, we were once again designing something that was quite sensible and indeed effective. If we go over to our landship editor, open the design, and we will go down to... Oh, I need to actually remember the name of this thing now. It was... Where is it? The Moderate. There we go. This is the version 2, and essentially it is a siege vehicle. It would roll up and trundle up very slowly to any sort of static position and not only survive the incoming fire because it does have some heavy steel armor there, it will also be able to outrange most things because of the suspendium cannons, and we had to make multiple changes and multiple alterations in order for it to be effective. Mainly, I believe we tripled the amount of coal, and even then I don't think it is enough. But overall, quite happy with the design, and it worked very, very well. And obviously people were suggesting different things to make and that sort of thing. And one of the things that we don't really have, if we go over to our airship editor and open designs, if we go down all of these lists, apart from all of the stupid ones, we don't really have any vessel that is very quick like the Denver. That's probably one of our best ships. It's basically a very fast boarding ship. It's got reasonable surface sailing of 195 meters. Speed is excellent at 222 kilometers per hour. But the main thing is it will rush to an area. This is specifically in the conquest mode. Rush to an area and then be able to defend it very, very quickly and indeed board and capture stuff, which is quite good. But what we don't have is a very quick reactionary vessel that can go to a point and destroy things. Now that might be any sort of bomber or boarding vessel or whatever, but the main point is that it needs to be fairly fast, it needs to be fairly well armed. Armor not so much, it's not really about staying in there. This is armed with, by the look of it, I believe steel armor. No, it's actually armed with steel wall by the look of it, so we're just going for pure speed. At the end of the day, this thing is supposed to get to a point and then just fire with a little grape shot on the front there and then board. That's all it really needs to do. But if we go over to our airship editor and we start thinking about something that can go to an area very quickly, we really narrow it down to a couple of things. Firstly, for propulsion, we'll probably use a large propeller just because it gives you very, very good speed. We're not going to go with sails or large sails or anything like that because they're just too heavy and don't provide enough. They're also very cheap, but not what we really need. In terms of lift, we don't know yet because it's going to be based on what we arm this thing with. Now, there's many, many options, but what we need to do is equip it with something that can hit hard and do a lot of damage in a short space of time. So we're ruling out things like cannons, we're ruling out deck guns and turrets and the usual things that we would normally see, because those, although can do damage, they are obviously not very fast to reload, but it's just not good enough. We need something to go in very quickly and cause a lot of damage. Now, one could argue that ramming is the way forward, also coupled with a flamethrower, but the problem with that is that the flamethrower is flammable, who would have thought? And also ramming is probably not the way to go. We need something that can fight, but also do it at varying ranges. And looking down the list, I mean, things like the Imperial cannons we're ruling out. Massive rocket I did originally want to go for, but the problem with that is A, it is actually big, and B, it also explodes easily, and its damage is not... It's good. It blasts damage 45, 11 meter splash distance as well, so it does a lot of scatter damage, but also it's not very accurate at all. What we need to do is have something that's going to do a lot of damage and do it very quickly, and that really narrows it down to a couple of things. Sawblade is a reasonable one, which we can get up close and do that, but again, you have to be very close. I'm thinking that the Suspendium Ray may be the thing that we put on it. Now, the Suspendium Ray is a recently new addition to the game, requires suspendium projection to your force. That's in the campaign there. A high accuracy beam of charged suspendium dust. Piercing damage is 12 times 10. So essentially, it fires 10 shots. It just goes zap, 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 zap. It's all one constant line, so it doesn't fire like a sort of multi-laser type affair, but it just has a big beam. It says maximum accurate range 3,300 meters. I don't know if it can miss. In testing, it doesn't seem to miss, or if it does, it doesn't seem by much. I've not seen it like carve like big holes into the ground or anything like that. The problem with it is that it is quite heavy at weight 300. HP is only 480. If we compare that to, say, a heavy cannon, we can see that it's actually got another 100 on the weight, although it is double the HP one would expect because of the size. But let's actually put it near the massive rocket, which is actually the same size, and weight 140 and HP 500, so it's actually got less than the rocket, so I don't know how well this will fare. Now, we're probably only going to go for the one, because as you can see straight away, just without anything else, the propulsion, the power plant, and the suspendium ray, both of those come up to 574. Whereas the Denver is only on around the sort of 800 mark. So it's going to be quite hopefully a condensed vessel. So what I'm going to do is see what we can do to mount this thing. So we're going to go over to our lift, and we're going to go down to a large suspendium chamber. That would give us a service ceiling of 391 meters. That is far too high. We don't need anything like that. Anything approaching 200 is perfectly acceptable. 150 is probably the way to go because of the arc of fire. If you see the arc of fire, it is pretty much, well, what does it actually say? 170 degrees arc of fire. You can see these two white lines there. It can hit everything above and below. So very, very good indeed. So we don't need to have this really sort of right next to... We don't need to have like lots of these, because the more we put on, it's just going to exponentially increase, so it's fairly pointless. In terms of propulsion, we've got that. In terms of resources, we need some coal stores, which is put on there. We need probably, well, somewhere for this to be crewed. We are definitely going to go with a bridge rather than a cockpit, and we also need some ammo, so we'll do that. Actually, it does, Spendium Ray, it says... requires a unit of coal every 6 seconds, and we've had this previously where we check things out like the weapons, and the suspendium cannon does say the same thing, requires a unit of coal. Where 2 ammo per shot. Heavy cannon doesn't say. We still need ammo. We do still need ammo, but what I'll do is go over to resources, and we'll put on a small ammo store for the time being. We'll see if we can get away with that one. In terms of command and crew, we will go for a bridge that will go on the back. We'll go for a standard quarters in here, and that'll give us 12 crew, recommended 14. But what we want to do is put... that's a cultist cell. No, we want to put a berth in there to allow access to the top there. Then needs more supply hatches, which we will go ahead and put in one, so it will be under resources. And then we've got a steel supply hatch. One of those will make this legitimate. We'll go over to armor. It's currently got wood there. We're going to go for a steel wall, and that is our very basic first draft. In terms of cost, 941. Not as cheap as I would like, but also not as... it's not as expensive as I would have thought, considering what we've got there. But the problem being that in terms of service ceiling, 162 meters, that's perfectly acceptable for what we want this thing to do. As long as it can chase down and get relatively close to any sort of high-level-ish bomber, which normally hangs around the sort of 200-300 marks, that's fine. Remember, this has got a maximum accurate range of 3,300 meters, so we could realistically sit back and fire as well, and that's not too much of a problem. Speed is 193. Now, in the game, it's not really going to matter because it's just about getting this onto the board and then firing at long range here. But we're building it for the campaign, so when we play the campaign modes and that sort of thing, this should be able to run from one place to another very quickly, and then, you know, in multiples of these. You wouldn't feel these in 1s or 2s, you'd probably feel these in 5s or 6s and have a fairly heavy hitting force and do it that way. But anyway, that's that. In there, crew 15, recommended 14, that's perfectly acceptable. Coal 50, that's more than enough for what we have here. Ammo 24, that is of some concern. I think we'll end up changing that. We haven't got any water or repair abilities, nor have we got any ability to heal crew. Supply is fine, command every 2 seconds. We're trying to just get out of the way and then keep this gun in place. So that is perfectly fine, and we'll rename it. It's called the Rufen, and let's change it to what shall we change it to? We'll call it the... Normally we go for like town names and city names. We'll call it the Oxford, because why not? And we will save the design, obviously version 1, and then we will leave that. We'll go over to combat. It is currently raining, that is fine. We're going to go to airships, down to the Oxford, and we're going to place that right at the back there, like so. In terms of cost, 941, we're going to say airship, go down, anything roughly around the same price. We're going to field, and obviously a different class of ship, not just the same one. There's the boarding ship, there's the Denver, so let's put that up against it. I don't think we'll be able to win against that because quite frankly not much does, but we'll place that there. We'll start the fight, and immediately what's going to happen is it's going to beam out, and you can see that it has caused a little bit of damage there. We've already got some smoke coming from it, and then now that that's coming here, what I want to do is outmaneuver it. So you can see we have got good speed, so we can issue more maneuvers than it because it's only got a cockpit, I believe. So I'm going to actually flip to there and get the gun back into play like so, and then press M, and it's not moving. We might get boarded here. This is a bit of a misplay, and that's it. We've already lost. I can tell we've already lost. We've been boarded, and that's it. I pressed move, didn't do it, so my fault, and there you go. So we have lost. We have been boarded, but proof of concept, we are firing. Good damage has been done on the enemy there, but we were versing basically the one of the best things that we could. Let's go and try that again. This time we'll add in, we'll go to day again. We'll go for airship, we'll go down to the Oxford, we'll place that in like so, but you saw the accuracy of that. In terms of airship, I still reckon we can beat that, but let's ramp up to that. So we've got things like the Coventry, we've got the Crane, the Barry is a closer thing. That's armed with some short range weapons there. What I'm going to do is put this on rapid fire because quite frankly, as I said, I don't think it misses. Oh no, it definitely missed there. That definitely missed. Let's go back to normal fire there. And there you go. You can see it carves right along there. So that's pretty good. And yeah, that's not too bad at all. So it's going to try and get nearer. So what I'm going to do now is go to there and then flip. So it's going to go down the bottom. We can go straight past it. Obviously, we are fairly quick. The problem is obviously that gun is not in play. It would be really good to have a gun on either side. And we can do that. We could use, say, like a dorsal type of engine pod. You could do something like that, but we're just going to keep backing up. You can see damage is being inflicted quite well over here, and noticeably there, ammo, it doesn't use ammo at all, so that is interesting. I'm going to remove the ammo from this thing because it is just not needed. It's just not needed, so that'll just help us out a little bit. We'll probably put in like a fire point there. Looks like the Barry is getting closer, and this is a bit of a problem for us. So what I'm going to do is go right down, because obviously we do have the ability to fire at a very, very steep angle, and there you go, we managed to hit as it was just going underneath there. While the Barry is sort of reeling towards us, we've rushed away, and then we are back in play. We're going to press move, we're going to go up to the top there, so we're constantly changing altitude, changing position, and just generally being very, very annoying. And there goes the suspendium chamber. That is pretty much it. We're going to go on to aimed fire, and that is fine. So we're going to get a little bit closer there, just because it looks like they have lost most of their stuff. In fact, what we'll do is go right up to there, and there's going to be an explosion there. Looks like there's going to be a secondary one to take that grape shot cannon off, and we'll just go right above them. So overall, this entire set of maneuvers has cost us just under half of our coal, and I don't think that is unreasonable there. Looks like we're going to cause another explosion. Looks like the ammo's gone. That's another gun gone. They've only got one more gun. They've still only got one more gun, but they've now got multiple parts of the ship. We will say target, and we'll target that bottom bit there, because that's the only part. There we go. That is now gone. Okay, that is fine. So let's go over to our airship editor once again. Open the Oxford and remove the small ammo store. It is not needed. We'll also remove, in this case, that berth. Bring that down to there. Put the berth back in. And instead we will put that there. Put in from our propulsion. No. What would we benefit from? Maybe more ammo, maybe more armor, but I'm very hesitant because more armor makes it heavier, it makes it slower, less service ceiling, and I thought that that was just about right there. It's just around about the average that we go for building. We normally hover around the 150. 120 to 150 is generally where we have our airships. Obviously, your results may vary, but that's what we tend to have across the fleet. Let's go over for... I think we'll go to resources and to a fire extinguisher. We'll place one fire extinguisher in there, and we'll also, I think, treat ourselves to, let's say, command and crew. We do have a crow's nest, which is very, very cheap. It can go on there. That does require a crew, but that will go in, and that increases our accuracy by 10%. We could also go for a telescope, but the problem with that is that it will require us to, well, put that in there and then put that back there, and it's just going to be a bit of a problem. Also, that telescope is quite expensive. The telescope is 122, and it's 30% accuracy, but I mean, you've seen how accurate this thing is here. I don't mind spending 20 on a crow's nest, but spending 122 for that telescope when it's already quite accurate anyway, I don't know if it's strictly necessary. I mean, if that is that even necessary, I don't know if it is, but we'll have one on there. In terms of the overall look of it, obviously we haven't put anything funky on it. We could do that. We'll check out the structural parts. You've got decks and different bits there. We're not going to do any of that. We'll go down to probably the shapes and decorations. We've got all manner of things. I'm thinking just having some lanterns hanging off the bottom would be pretty good, and each one of these lanterns only costs one, so it's not too much of a problem there. Actually, that just looks a bit lazy, doesn't it? I don't really like that. We'll remove those. I like the way there's good laddering around this. If we go to the pathing, that's very, very good indeed. All this around here is not too good. You know what we could do? We could remove that. We could pull that up to there, put that over to there, and then move that up the top, and then we'll have the other points a little bit closer and better access. That is much better pathing. Much, much better pathing. Not only do we have access right near the bridge here, we also have the water more centralized. That is pretty good, and that's fine. That will introduce a little bit of a weakness. That means boarders will be able to get to the bridge quicker. In reality, if this thing gets boarded with anything other than just one or two hussars, we've pretty much lost already. So that's something that we have to bear in mind. Obviously, anything like the aerial hussars, anything like planes and that sort of stuff, I don't think this can take out. I'm pretty confident this doesn't do it. No, it is not possible to do that. It's things like the grape shot cannon. You can see it does say shoots troops in planes within 28 meters, whereas the ray cannot do that. So that's fine. What we're going to do is save the design, and we're not going to mark it as a version 2 because although it is some changes, I think it's unlikely that we'll come back to a version 1. So let's go back over to a day 5 airships, back down to the Oxford, and then we'll put in 1 and then 2 of those, bring up to 1,908. We'll go to airships, and there's the Coventry, which Oxford v Coventry. Okay, that's a reasonable, accurate fight. There we go, and you can see the rays are going off there, and immediately what I'm going to do is tell them to move, because these rockets are coming in, but they are only accurate as of the time of firing. So the more I change my altitude and my course and speed, the less accurate those will be. So all we're doing is just moving around, making sure they've got good damage going out there, going up and down. You can see we are pretty much dodging most of these, and that is our objective. The Coventry, sadly, at the moment, cannot get to a position where it can shoot me, and I'm going to actually go behind it and flip. Now, the Coventry, because of its altitude, it's not actually good enough there, and we've got a problem there. Oh, no, that's fine now. What's happened there is it wasn't able to get the altitude, and not only that, but we've taken out the propulsion, I believe, so it's not able to get in a position where it can flip round. Oh no, it does seem to be working now, so that's fine. We're just going to keep backing up there. Remember, we've got much more accurate weapons, so that's fine. This is actually better. This is actually better than I thought we'd fare here. I'm going to double check each one of them. Looks like all of our manoeuvring has seen half of our coal stores, or just over half of our coal stores being depleted there, but the damage on the Coventry is... yeah, you can't sustain that for long, and there it goes. Okay. Not a bad one. Let's go back over to airships, and we're going to do another 2v something fight, 1 and then 2. This time, let's overpoint them. Let's mix the ships up as well, because we normally don't feel the same thing. I mean, really, the Dresden is... See, the Dresden won't even fare up against it either because we've got higher service ceiling and it's a bomber. So we can just sit above it and win. So that's not a fair fight. What about the Rock Tosser? That's got a much higher service ceiling, and it's not unreasonable to say that we'd be able to verse one of those. Airship again. We'll go for a basic, although the basic might be too expensive. It is too basic. Yeah, it's not what we want. Let's go down and find... There it is, the Prim. 1, and then 2, and that's 1,908 versus 1,984. So they are more pointed than myself, but I think it's reasonable that we do this. So I'm going to target the Prims because... Oh, you see that? It actually missed. Both of them missed, which was interesting. They are coming towards me, but what is interesting is that... Ah, they're not shooting, of course, because the Prims are only armed with... this is going to be a problem. The Prims are only armed with... not crossbows. I'm trying to think what it's called now, the official name for it. The ballistas. And the thing with the ballistas is that they have a flat arc of fire. I think the ballista's arc of fire goes up and along like that, and then it is straight down. So, what I want to do is get myself in a position now that I'm ready to rush forward, because we need to get underneath this thing. Now, I'm going to have to manually do this, because otherwise we're going to end up crashing into things. So I'll unpause it. That goes. You can see loads of these shots will come down and hit that, and that's fine for us, but we just need to keep moving. You can see because of the speed, we are able to outmaneuver them, and then what we'll do is go back up top, get that altitude in play, and there we are. The combination of speed on these things, followed by the very damaging and, I guess, instantaneous flight. It's not. There's no flight time on the weapons. I'm going to actually put this onto aimed fire, because this is something that, realistically, under normal circumstances, if we were getting hit off cannon shells and other such things, we wouldn't be able to stay here and do this because we're not very well armoured. But that's on fire and pretty much out of play. I know that can't put out fire. That one is not in range with anything, and it seems to me that this rock tosser is coming towards us slowly in a desperate bid to ram. It's lost one of its suspendium gas bags, and the others are leaking, so this is the highest service ceiling it's going to manage. There is another one being taken out. It will go down. The thing is, we might not win this. It's unlikely that we'll win it, because I don't think we can destroy them fast enough. And that's the problem we've had versus these very basic units previously, that even though they're very basic, they can still hold their own, because there's a lot, you get a lot of ship for your money. But as you can see, there's been a lot of this taken out, but all of these are still classes in play because of the design of it, because these are grenades and ammo sections, so all of them are still classes in play until we get some explosions. See, this rock tosser should be classed as out of the fight, but it is not, which is worrying because it's got nowhere to take off. In reality, it is out of the fight. It is out of the fight. That one's definitely out of the fight because it's got nowhere to move. This other Prim here is about to lose that gas bag at the back. There's one of them gone. I don't really want to move too much because it's going to use coal. Is that a win? No, it's still got one gas bag. Okay. So we're probably going to lose that because that's out of coal now. Yeah, hit it with the coal, that's it. Both have gone. So we're going to lose that on a technicality. Technically being the best kind of right and all this and all that. But no ammo for us. We've immobilised one of the rock. Well, we've immobilised the rock tosser. I'm glad it finally worked that out. And then the Prim has also been immobilised. The other Prim is disarmed. But in reality, we would have won that. I think we have won that. Well, no, technically defeat, as I said, but yeah. Accuracy, 73%. So it does miss. It just doesn't have that very big an accuracy that they have. Enemies' accuracy is 0%. We never got hit by a single weapon. Okay. On hindsight, I think that was a fairly unfair fight for them. Let's go for a snowy nighttime fight. We'll go for Airship, and once again Oxford. This time 1, 2, and 3. I reckon we'll field... Let's try something different. Building. Land Fortress. It'll normally be placed at the back, so this is a realistic fight. 3,246. We'll add another Oxford in there. We are overpointed by 600. Okay, right. We can probably alter that. No. I'm gonna say the Flying Fortress is not very good. Dark Cube. Okay, that's pretty much dead on. 3,816 as opposed to 3,818. So they're only 2 points over. So we'll start the fight. We're going to target. You can see they're targeting all different things. We're going to target that thing. Go on the front. And wow. So it looks like we are outside of our maximum accurate range. So we're going to keep going. Keep going forward there. Although realistically we probably want to go back a little bit and go up and get some elevation, get some height. And I guess that is the highest we can go really. We'll go a little bit further forward there. Shots are whizzing out. They are doing a little bit of damage. Not as much as I would have liked. But there you are. Let's go up a little bit and just, let's say, try to get out maybe some of the arc of fire. It's realistic to assume that we're not going to get out of the arc of fire though. I don't know if we want to move around like so. I don't know if that is the best course of action, because every time we do that we are using coal. Whereas, you're going to use coal anyway, just flying. That's just the nature of the beast. But oh, that looks like to be a nice hit there. I'm going to go on to aim fire. I probably should have put that on earlier, but you can see the damage we are causing there. It is absolutely carving this thing up. It's only got one more cannon on the front there, so we're going to switch targets to the bigger one at the back there and see what we can do. We're going to double check an outside view here. We can see that damage has been inflicted across the board. We have got some damage there, especially the one on the bottom. We've actually lost propulsion on the bottom one, so that's all kinds of bad, but we're in a decent position there in terms of where we're hovering. So none their flak is in play. We're getting some good shots onto that main turret on the top there, and you can see the... oh no, that's some bad shots. You can see we are getting some decent shots on the front there, but the problem is that we are versing this very heavy stone wall, which requires a lot of damage before it really starts carving through. And the fact is that it will just have a lot more HP and a lot more abilities to weather this fire. The advantage that we have is that, as you can see, a lot of their shots are missing. We'll check at the end of the match just how inaccurate they were, but we can see a lot of our shots are missing too. It looks like there's a big fire and explosion on their cannon there, that turret, so that is now gone. Excellent. I believe there's just been a crunch on one of ours, so let's have a quick look. We can see that... yes, we've taken some damage. So this one here, the Oxford, this has got no propulsion. I am going to ground the ship. For the second one, I will move it back and do the same thing. And we'll ground all of these vessels. The reason for that is if we ground them, we don't use the suspendium chamber, which means that they can then fire at will and not have to worry about suspendium for the suspendium chamber. You can see that they've turned all the suspendium chambers off, so now we get a much better... well, we're not wasting resources where we don't need to. In terms of damage, this thing isn't firing anymore. Have you noticed this is not firing? That is interesting. I wonder why it's not firing. This one at the front is though, so we will target that. Hopefully we'll be able to take that one out there. It is technically still in the fight, and we are an aimed fire, so I'm wondering why we're missing so much. There is... yeah, let's target the one at the back there. We can see that that there is the only cannon remaining on the Dark Cube, I think it was called. But that still class has been in the fight. Once again, what we'll probably end up doing is losing this on a technicality. So it'll be a case of we've ran out of coal. But, as you can clearly see, we have caused substantial damage to it. If this was a campaign fight, I would definitely class this as a victory. Not just a minor victory. I'd say this is a fairly decent one. Major victory. We will have lost one of these because it's got no propulsion, so in a campaign, unless we conquer this place, you understand, that would be classed as destroyed. But the damage we've inflicted is amazing. In fact, quite frankly, I'm surprised at just how much damage we've been able to inflict. We'll now carve them in two. But I reckon a lot of these shots, I think that's it. I think only one of them's got coal. Yep, and that's now ran out of coal. Okay, so once again, ran out of coal. Is there a call for adding more coal into this thing? Maybe. I mean, I'll run it up the flagpole, see if anyone salutes it, but we could put a small coal store in. That would make it a little bit more expensive, only by 14. Which, to be fair, the crow's nest is more expensive than that. But that's going to give us 12 capacity extra on top of the 50. That might not seem much, but it might be enough to give it that little extra kick. Pathing is still good. Happy with that. Don't think we can put another one in. I think that would be unreasonable. Suspension ray still in place. I'm going to remove that. And put the fire point back in the middle. And in fact, if we do that, that's actually much better. So in terms of pathing, pathing is still very good. Water is still good. And the steel supply hatch is in a better position for boarding. I mean, it's marginal. It really doesn't mean much. But let's save that again. Again, not making it another version. It's more... I mean, it technically is another version, but it's more of a slight in-theatre modification rather than a total overhaul. Airships, Oxford, 1, 2, 3. We'll field 3 of those versus another airship. Actually, we'll try a land ship. Have we got something around about the £3,000 mark? I mean, we could versus a moderate. Should we do that? This is a siege vessel, so imagine a siege vessel turns up. I mean, it's very unrealistic. We would normally not see that turn up. In fact, what I'm going to do is bring these forward. Because we'd be attacking. It wouldn't be attacking us. Or, actually, this isn't necessarily an unreasonable fight. Because what we would see is a moderate trundling along, admittedly not on its own. You would support this under normal conditions. But this would be trundling along to one of our frontline points where we have static structures. And we would use these to intercept. That was the whole point in these things. Something very quick in order to intercept. Start the fight. Lasers going out. There you go. Going to move and go straight to there. Straight ahead. Obviously this thing is very, very accurate. So what we need to do, close the distance, go straight past. There we go. Still got good carving. Going to go on to a rapid fire and cause as much damage as we can. Going to move back over to there. Still firing. It's so close that I don't really care about the odd miss here and there, but there you go. There is good shots. There's very good shots indeed. I don't know why it's not turning around. I would have thought it would have turned around by now, but we will see. I'm on a move order, ready to spin around. If it does decide to turn around, I will be able to get it. I mean, I probably should put flip first on. In this case, we don't want it to flip first, but there you are. See, I believe these suspendium cannons have a minimum range. I think that's what's happening here. Okay. I'm going to do a test and land one of them. Oh, yep, that's what I thought might happen. Okay, so because it could get... because it could get within an arc of fire, it's done that. So we're going to move back to there, straight over the top. I think we've just carved the top bit off there. Yes, we have. So we're going to flip around. We have lost the water there, so it looks like the shot that it fired has managed to hit the only water source. Not that that's too much of an issue, but what is an issue is if we check, you can see coal on each one of them is around about half. So what's happened there is that obviously we are firing out, we're using all of this coal, we're still using suspendium chambers to keep aloft, we're still using our engines to move, and obviously we're still firing as well. And damage-wise, we're doing very little. Very little indeed. I mean, yes, we've taken a little bit of the open deck off there, we've removed the bit on the top there, we've got loads of damage across this, but this is heavy steel. It's the reinforced steel stuff, so damage, we haven't even pierced it yet. We haven't even cracked the shell. It doesn't matter that we've hardly taken any shots, because it's, at the moment, looking like something we're never going to defeat, because it's just got far too much armour. And we are running out of coal. I mean, that's fairly shocking when we think of it, really. Just the sheer amount of... Put on a normal fire now. The sheer amount of damage it's taken. Remember, each of these beams fire... It's 12 damage 10 times. So it's 120 damage if it all hits. But this has got so much piercing armor. It's just scratching it. Okay. I genuinely thought this would have been an easier fight for us. But then again, that's why we test these things. Because it obviously isn't. And there's nothing we can do about it. In reality, as soon as we've done this, if we were assaulting... If this was assaulting our front line and we'd use these to react against it, to do what we're doing now and intercept it, we're going to run out of coal. Which means we'd lose the fight, but we haven't lost the weapons, we're not immobile, we can just leave. So we'd move about 3 inches on the map, turn around and assault it again, full factory fresh. That's what we would do. So, and it would still have the damage, because the damage is kept over, but not your resources. So, that's, I get... Ooh, good grief. That is a testament to just how tough that thing is. Right. Let's go for a storm here. And we'll go for an airship. This time we'll put something... I mean, Harriers, we can't fight the stuff that they carry, but we can fight... We can fight a lot of the other things on it. Well, we can fight the actual carrying vessel. I mean, looking down the list, there's nothing else really that I think would be a reasonable fight. All of these would be... I think something would be at the verse. We haven't tried the Sterling. Could put a Sterling in. Followed by, let's put a land ship in. Could put some mini tanks in, couldn't we? Mini tankingtons might not be a bad idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Airship. Oxford. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3,872 versus 4,025. We'll start the fight. We'll target the Sterling. And we'll see what we can do. Standard fire. And this is where we have some problems. Because it gets close and it absolutely shreds you. That's what this thing's for, the Sterling. So we're going to have to run away as best we can. So we're going to maneuver down. We're going to try and outmaneuver it. Which I don't know if it's possible. Because, quite frankly, I can't remember whether we put a bridge or a cockpit on that. But either way, it's got the same propulsion as us. The difference is that we've got lighter armour, which means we can outmaneuver it. And, oh, looks like we've hit something fairly vital there. And what happened is the Sterling's engine's been taken out and the suspendium chamber. It's dropped down on top of a mini-tank and taken that weapon out. Okay. That completely changes matters. And it's pretty much out the fight. Excellent. Aimed fire. One's down below. Go. So move back to there. Move back to there. We're still in a standard fight. Target that one. Which we can do. Just can move a little bit further along. Oh, looks like another one's been taken out. That's been taken out. Let's have a get a bit closer here. It's good. Where's it running to? Where's it running to? And why isn't it being classed as being taken out? It's still moving around, even though it's pretty much just a transport vehicle now. Oh, we've actually lost one of these. We have managed to lose one of the weapons on the front of this. Well, in that case, it would be rude not to ram, wouldn't it? Let's go. To there. So this is hiding right at the back. Fair enough. Oh, it's been taken out. Oh, just as we were about to ram it as well. And, oh, we have rammed it. And it's, yeah, had a front of it blown off. Excellent. So it's just that one now. It's pretty much game over. Let's go right above it. I think that'll be taken out before we get there. But let's ground the ship and... Ground the ship. Oh, we can't. We can't ground it, but we can ram. Yeah. The difference from grounding is grounding essentially it slowly goes down and then it feathers the suspendium chamber to make sure you get like a nice gentle landing, whereas the ram it actually just uses that lift and just like right negative force and brings it down. You don't fall at your you don't fall and then hit your terminal velocity. You're actually forcing down and bang. So we've had one disarmed and to be fair, there's a lot more damage. There's a lot more damage. We've disarmed the Sterling, disarmed 3 of the tanks, no crew quarters on the other one, and the other one has survived. So it is a victory, 60% accuracy rate, which is fairly shocking considering we've got lasers. I'm guessing it's because they were very, very quick. So when they fire, they hit a point and then they do like a little sweep. But the sweep has a maximum speed, so it can't, say, target X and then target Y where they're say half a mile apart. So it's not going to be like a shadow battle cruise from Babylon 5 just going zip and just cutting the ship in half. It's a very small little rake. So there you go. That has been a little bit of testing when it comes to the Oxfords. I think one of the more successful things that we have made. Original brief, make something that was fast, lightly armoured, and more of a reactionary vessel, similar to the Denver, which is a boarding vessel, but this one was to destroy, and that all seemed to work. Either way, very happy with the build, and overall, pretty enjoyable, I think. If you have any suggestions for changes for the thing that is just shown in the background there, then by all means, let me know. Comments in the comments. Any suggestions for things you would like to see and build, then yeah, we will go ahead and do that as well. In terms of the Conquest, I know there's always requests to, every time we do one of these standalone videos and the build videos, going back on the Conquest. I do plan on going back to that. I wouldn't say recently, but fairly recently we did a series on the Cultist one, but I know that there's been a lot of stuff worked on for like diplomacy and things like that, so hoping for that to be released at some point to make it sort of a bit fresh, but we'll see how things go as always. So if you have enjoyed the video, thanks very much for watching, take care, and generic partings.